Welcome back to Brothers in Boots. My name is Mike.
My name is Jeff.
And today we have an episode on the good and bad of boot social media. As usual, please like, comment, subscribe. Try to get this in the beginning and not at the end. Trying to be this semi-professional, whatever the fuck this is thing. And what are we drinking, Jeff?
Please pause and do it now.
Pour you a drink while you're at it. Unless you're driving. I know a lot of people watch while they're driving. Don't pour you a drink while you're driving.
Oh, and this episode's another Four Roses single barrel private pick, OESF 10-year 2-month. Yeah, from 2021.
Shockingly enough, for all of you that are interested in finding a pick like that, Four Roses is actually selling a red label OESF now. It's not going to be a 10-year. I think the current ones are 7 or 8, but they do sell that now. That is an actual, and it's got it on the neck of the bottle, so that is something you could go purchase.
It is a brand new thing. I don't know if we've gone into it before, but Four Roses has 10 recipes. It's 2 mash bills and 5 yeasts. So when you combine that together, you end up with 10. And only one of them really gets sold. Their single barrel is always a OBSV. It never varies. It's always that. And their small batch is always like 3 of the recipes combined, but you can never get any of the others by themselves without doing a private pick, except with this red label that they just came out with that Mike just said. So they're doing
OESO.
OES,
no,
and OESO, OESK,
and OESF. And then they have the new black label, which is, I think that's OBSV or OESV, one of the two. That's one of the V's, because they have that black label now too.
So if you're a Scotch drinker and you're getting into bourbon, that would be a good one to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
An easy gateway into bourbon. And it's a nice, smooth, easy drinker. So I end up with it a lot more than I expect. It's surprisingly often that I end up with some Four Roses.
I like Four Roses. I love stuff that's red fruit forward, and Four Roses almost always is. If it's not red fruit forward, it's usually some kind of stoned fruit with a spiced blend.
Okay, this week, and for the guy whose name I can't remember, there you go. It's the 3-minute mark where we're going to start talking about boots.
Oh, yeah, the guy that always gives the timestamp. Yeah, all right, so the good and bad of boot social media. So this was a topic we were already thinking about talking about, and it was on the list, but it had to get bumped forward a little bit because we had an asshole pull a nasty trick where essentially, I'm not going to tell you guys how the trick's done, but there's a way that you can make a comment and not get a notification on what exactly is being said, and was targeting older videos of ours on bootmakers that he didn't like and leaving nasty comments. It was pointed out to us. It was a much older video, and we were sent screenshots where he had done it on 4 other YouTubers' channels as well in roughly that same time period. So he's been booted into the sun. He won't be back. And kind of keep an eye out for it. So for those of you who do YouTube content or frequent YouTube content, watch out on your old videos. You might get a notification about something that's old. Go double check it after a couple days and see if it still says what the notification told you. So that kind of kicked us off.
It's a shame. I mean, when you're that salty and that pissed off and take things that personally, your blood pressure's got to be through the roof. Your lifespan has got to be shortened. Just life's too short to be that damn angry.
I ain't no shit.
But yeah, they just go out and make it their job to hurt others.
Yeah. And they're going to face the pain on this one, because not only did they get a refund for the stuff that they're going around bitching about, they're also getting sued for some shit that's been said in the Stitch Down Discord. So like, this is hitting an actual legal level at this point. Don't go that far. Nobody wants to be there. I'm leaving a ton of details out here. There is way more to this story that does not need to be public, but yeah, like there was some shit pulled here, and this is not worth it. So don't do it. If you were that sour with one of the boot brands about your purchases or whatnot, like even for the boot brands that have targeted us, we've made a comment about it and then we've left it the fuck alone. And that's all that needs to happen. If things escalate, well, then you'll reconvene at that point. But the reality is, life is way too short. Like, if the shit went bad, sell the boots, move on. Simple enough. Like, find a different pair that you like, find a different brand that you like, find a different maker that you like, and move on. Or fucking just wear tennis shoes. There's no reason to be that way. So don't do it. If you're in that boat and you feel like a maker has wronged you, whether they, made something out of the wrong leather, they didn't do the design the exact way you wanted, they did their best to make it right, you're still, you got some kind of reward out of it, and then you still want to go fucking smear their name, fuck right off. That shit's not worth it. Like, if the person tried to fix the problems, don't do that. It's one thing if they just told you to go fuck off and just, yeeted it into the sun and called it a day. But it's something different if shit actually did happen, there was rectification tried, and you just, like, oh, cool, I got everything out of this that I wanted, and now I'm still going to go be a dick about it.
Certainly not saying keep your mouth shut if you get fucked.
Yeah.
If you've tried to handle the situation and you've tried to go at them properly and get it handled, and you've still failed and you want to tell your story, okay, tell it somewhere on your own fucking platform, not on somebody else's. Go to Reddit, go to Facebook, go to wherever you hang out, write a note about your experience, and everybody else in that forum or group or whatever can decide whether they agree with you or disagree with you and make comments or not and move on. And that's it. Certainly tell your story. Wait until you're sure that it's not going to be handled correctly.
100%. Yeah.
And don't just go out and start trying to bash them just because you're fucking angry. That's different than telling your story and making sure that others have a warning as to where they spend their money.
Yep, 100%. And the other thing too is just like with any story you hear, fucking go talk with the maker about it and see how true it is, because you might be shocked. We see this a ton actually with the Indonesian brands, where they have like a bad string, people just bash the crap out of them, they just disappear overnight. That's essentially what happened with Monroe until someone else bought it out and had to go like start up production from scratch, and people essentially waited an extra 8 months on their boots for no reason, or 8 months on a refund. They got the choice. Like, this happened in May of last year where they went dark on everybody. And what happened was, when the new management took over and they finally started contacting people in the June and July timeframe, you got two options. You could either get a refund in December, or you could get your boots in December. Take your pick. And for a lot of people, especially like if you were someone that was like, buying a set to put on your website or in your store, you're kind of just stuck with, wow, I got to wait till December till whatever. At least I'll have a product to sell.
That's tough. And the Indonesians, I mean, that's a whole nother wrinkle too.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, for most people, it's a language barrier, and then you've got the fact that they don't have a PR crew, and they gotta wear all hats, and you get annoying customers. I mean, no offense if you're one of those annoying customers that always wants updates and always wants to send them a message and say, hey, how's everything going? And is everything on track? Well, it would have been if I wasn't answering all these fucking questions from people just like you that are taking up my time so that I can't actually make the boots. You got to just, you figure out what it's going to be. You get your ETA, you pay your half down or whatever it is, and just wait. Just wait. Let them work.
Yeah, and it's like, this goes into some of the good of social media. Without these social media and these guys, because we make the joke in 2024 it was real popular among your like individual bootmakers, your single threaded people, to be like, oh good, in 2024 I'm a halftime bootmaker, a halftime content creator. Well, without it, we would have never found any of these Indonesian makers. Like that stuff wouldn't have made it to America. And some of that comes down to, quite simply, they have to do this with their full-time job. A couple of them seem like the person you talk to, his main job is to just handle the social media, and they probably do like a regular kind of businessy day job and happen to speak English. Imperium kind of speaks to that. It kind of seems like that the guy Kevin that runs it does something else for a living, because he's extremely responsive compared to basically everybody else. But overall, just like your small makers, like your creosotes, your Flora Knights, your custom crafts, Francis Walpinger, Graham Ebner, these are individual single-threaded makers that they don't have anybody else that runs the business besides them. They do it all, right? So, you get to see the stuff they do and get the inspiration and whatnot, and they try their best to keep their stuff up to date, but at the same time, like, understand that they might not get back to all messages, within 48 hours.
I mean, to give you an example, I paid for 3 pairs of boots with an Indonesian builder. The guy that I'm talking to is the owner of the company. He is the guy that's making the boots. And they're not only MTO, but they're MTM, and he's making me my own last. I paid the guy October 22nd, and boots are due next month. How many times do you think I reached out to him and asked him, hey, how are things going? And hey, are we still on track? 0. If you look at our conversations, that is literally, I was able to just pull it up and look at it right now. It's literally our last communication was October 22nd at 7 a.m. where he said, I got your payment. Thank you. And I don't expect to hear from him, and I'm certainly not going to bother him. Now, if we get to April, especially if we get all the way through April, yeah, I'll probably send him a message at the end of April, give him an extra month, and say, if I haven't gotten him, and say, hey, what's up, and what's our new ETA or something. But let him work. Leave him alone.
Yep. This is how it goes. I know. I think that the 2 big ones last year in the Indonesian space were Centellum under ID. And then the second one was Monroe. There's probably more than that, but those are the 2 pretty big high profile ones that I remember and honestly, most people found out about them because of businesses that they worked through. So, but this is how it goes. And once again, we have the Professor Barnetts, the they're not Benz anymore, the Bristleback now, the Renovs, the Tahuras, Sagara, Underhood, like these all exist because of, well, quite honestly, Instagram and WhatsApp, but social media in general. And if we really think about it, probably previous to the 5 years ago, there was probably a couple brands here and there. Like I think in the early like 2015, 2016 timeframe, a couple boot brands like Nix and Westco and stuff made a couple YouTube videos here and there. But we've gotten a huge resurgence of boot knowledge that has basically been gone for the last 35 years, that has made it to the internet, that has been shared with people. We know way more about welt constructions, way more about how people process sizing, pattern making, and stuff like that you would have had to go find in old books. Every now and then a newer maker like Marcel Mr. San, or maybe a book or 2 that Lisa Sorrell brought in, like that German one on pattern making she had translated recently. You would get stuff like that, and that knowledge would be injected back in. But generally speaking, for the boot consumer that's not going to go buy and read a book on shoemaking, YouTube is how everyone has kind of cultivated at least some kind of enthusiasm for what was a dying art.
A lot of people don't have the commutes they used to, and I guess that's translated to being able to spend time on YouTube and think about this stuff a little bit more. And all the owners, all the boot companies are thankful that there's people, geeks like us that are out here trying to help people to understand it a little bit more, that don't, so that they can get the orders in correctly, so that there can be less mistakes or misunderstandings, or, oh, I forgot to ask about that, or I assumed you do this. And I mean, these guys are literally doing whatever you tell them to do. So if you as the customer don't know how to tell them what to do, they, especially with a language barrier, they can only go so far as to make recommendations on what they think that you might be wanting.
Yeah, or they're just going to copy a picture. You're going to send a picture and they're going to try to make exactly that. And on top of that, you know, for a lot of the MTO stuff, especially like when it comes to like Frank's, Wesco's, with what MTO's White still does, you know, they've kind of restricted those options quite a bit. There was a lot of stuff people really didn't know what they were, and you could kind of have a picture, but what that didn't often give you was the why was that MTO a thing. What does it do to the fit and feel of the boot? How does that affect break-in? How does that affect long-term wear? These are things that we've, you know, been able to put out on the internet. Like, not only have the makers done it, we've done it, numerous other boot YouTubers have done it. And essentially, we have gotten to a point that now there, for very few brands, there's very little that you cannot go find on the internet to know this is what this looks like. I can maybe find a Facebook group or a Discord server that has pictures of exactly what those MTO options are, and there's people that I can reach out to now and ask, hey, I saw you had this boot 3 years ago, you know, you had it made in the Frank's boot community. How does this leather look after 3 years? How does that lineman's patch look after 3 years? How does that toe cap with the, you know, specialty design look after 3 years? You know, these are things that you just kind of had to guess at and, you know, hope and pray, roll the dice and see what happens.
When people do get into this, a lot of them are thinking about models. They're thinking that whatever they see is exactly what it's going to be, that you don't have any other choices, because they're used to just going into a store and there's a shoebox and it's got a model name on it, and you know that every one of those models is going to be the same except the size. And it's never been true. I mean, if it's possible to find a pair of whites that are made out of ostrich that were made like 10 years ago. Did whites ever have an ostrich model boot? No. I mean, was it ever in their website or their brochure or sitting in their showroom if you got lucky enough to walk in there? No. But is there a guy walking around with them? Yeah. Why? Because he knew how to go off menu, and he knew to say and ask, hey, will you do this for me? And they did it. People, Frank's being one of the ones that goes more custom than all the others. You get people all the time that are like, well, they'll see a boot that somebody just bought, post a picture up and say, here, look at my new boots. And guys will be looking at them and be like, well, I didn't know you could do that. And where'd you find that? And what model is that? And can you send me a link on that? No, there is no link. It's not a model. You know, they called them up and said, I want this and I want that and I want that. And there may not be another pair of boots out there like it ever again. You gotta know the off menu stuff. And you gotta spend some time with it and learn to think about it correctly so that you know what the off menu stuff is, and so that you can think properly, so that even if it hasn't ever been done, you can tell whether it
should be done.
whether you could actually, whether it would make sense to call them up and say, hey, is this possible, so that they can say yes or no.
Yeah. And the flip side of this too is in the case of like the PNW boots, it's going to be mostly Reddit and Facebook groups. Nick's has a really large presence on Reddit. Pretty much everybody else's presence is on Facebook. But, a big portion of this in the past is some of these groups were managed pretty terribly by a person named Wolf. It's a piece of shit. Long story there. Maybe one day we'll do a full deep dive into all the garbage that happened there, because there was a lot that went into that particular story. But essentially, the big ones that you have left besides the Wolfram group, which is the Nick's, Whites, Franks, JK enthusiast group, broke into what would be the PNW Uncensored group. And then you have like Nick's has their own Facebook group, Frank's has their own Facebook group, and maybe some of the others have one too. I don't think White's has one, and I don't think Wesco has one that are specific to just them. But you have these groups.
There is a White's one, but I don't even think the admin is on Facebook anymore. It's a little bit of a free for all. It doesn't have very many people in it, and it has very little conversation. But might as well not exist. And as to what Mike said about Wolf, any boot group that has the word enthusiast in it is a Wolf group. Yeah. He went out and created like 8 Facebook groups, all with the word enthusiast. And if you're any of them, just please fucking leave. And if you're not in them, don't join. He's an asshole, and he gets bribed to remove certain content, which is the whole reason why the Uncensored group exists, is because people were being censored based on whether that company wanted to pay Wolf off in order to scrub.
Yep.
Wolf was more than happy to scrub anything at any time if you paid him.
And this is what we were kind of leading into. This is one of the good sides, is not only do you get to see the MTOs, the different options, the custom leathers. Sometimes custom leathers are offered in these Facebook groups that don't ever hit the website or the Instagram or some of the other social media. And you get to see the good stuff, but you also get to see the bad stuff. But it's done in a good way. So if we take like PNW Uncensored, for example, like not only do you get to see when someone has a bad experience with a brand, you also get people in the comments who can question, what exactly was your bad experience? What did you contribute to this? What did you not contribute to this? How much of this is maybe something you brought on yourself? How much of this is you just, got blindsided by something that's not your fault at all? And so it kind of helps gauge that too, because, there was a time lots of half-price boots and free gift cards were being given out to deal with problematic QA issues. And we'll just kind of leave it at there. That may be another episode another day.
Yeah, we want to go into there. There's certainly some people that we could discuss that went off the deep end as far as customers go.
Yes, the customers are not always right. There's Diesel and a pair of JKs that no one's ever quite sure if they got burned or not.
Probably still have a photo we could flash up on one video. I don't know. I don't know what we want to do. A Wolf, I think, could be a whole entire video.
Wolf should probably be a whole entire video, because there's a lot of people that have been screwed by him, not just by like these Facebook groups, but like literally been scammed by him taking money for boot orders that never got placed and so on and so forth. That probably should be its own video.
And I've got one group called Boot Scammers that I tried to come up with just so that all the admins and everybody could be able to see who these scammers are, to try to keep them out of their own groups. And Wolf was the main reason for starting that. So that group started off with a whole bunch of evidence against Wolf. And maybe I should bring up some of that stuff again. I'm really not. I think Dale was saying that he popped back up recently doing some new scheme. So maybe it's time to refresh some of that stuff and bump it to the top.
It's probably not a bad idea. Because, like I said, a ton of people got screwed out of that, and he pulled some shit where he did a video with Karl Morawski in the Northern Republic right before he basically closed doors and took everybody's shit. So, but yeah, now, what's another great thing that's happened at About Social Media? Collaborations. We got a ton of collaborations and stuff we would have never gotten otherwise. Karl Morawski is a great example. He's had a ton of collabs. As much as I don't particularly care for their content, Rose Anvil, they've had a ton of collabs, even though I think a lot of those probably have bad design choices. You have, well, I mean, it is what it is. You know, you have...
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
There's lineman patches going over double row toe caps like that are there for a splash of color.
But I mean, do we want to talk about Rose Anvil?
No, probably not. Nah, probably not. It is one example.
I do want to talk about them, but at the same time, I do kind of hate bashing on people if I can help it. As salty as I can be, as straightforward as I can be.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to talk about it. Fuck Rose Anvil. I mean, you know, and if he wants to come on and talk to me about that, you know, I'm here for it. He doesn't know anything about anything.
No, his content started good.
Videos, he admits that he doesn't know anything about anything. He was bored. It was COVID.
He was running
a good idea.
Business. Yep.
And yeah, it was a great idea to cut some boots in half. I'll give him that. But as far as everything else that he talks about, he doesn't have any knowledge. I mean, he's either making shit stuff or he's spitting out something that he just picked up a couple of days before from somebody else.
Yeah, and all this information is available.
He's not a boot fan.
Oh yeah.
He's not a boot fan. I mean, he's more than happy in a pair of shoes. So when he comes up with these collabs, all he's trying to do is use his imagination to come up with any little thing that is not quite normal. And it doesn't matter whether boot people would like it or not. It doesn't matter whether it makes a good pair of boots or whether it makes them tough. It doesn't matter whether it makes them horrible to wear and actually horrendous Frankensteins. As long as he did his best to try to put something weird together, that's his goal. And you look at the models, like when he does a PNW boot, look at the models that he chooses. Look at the last that he chooses. He's not choosing the arched one if he can help it. If he was a boot guy, he'd be picking the arched one like every fucking time. Is he? No. It might be 20% of the time.
I think maybe that one packer he did with whites.
When he didn't even know about the low arched ones.
Well, I think even the original like Knicks ones that he did was H&W. I think the only one he did that has any arch is the whites Packers. The Drifter or whatever the hell he called it. Because that's an actual Packer last.
I thought that the very first one was the 55.
I don't think so. I think it was H&W.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, maybe you could have.
Video I watched from him.
I mean, you might be able to could have chose it in it, but I'm pretty sure the ones that he cut in half were an H&W. I don't think they were 55.
He doesn't get clicks from me anymore.
His original idea was good. It just didn't follow up with it. Like I said, you know, he started cutting boots in half, which is valuable in and of itself. I mean, for a lot of people, even now, if you see a boot brand you want, you probably go and see what the inside cut in half looks, and that's probably all the commentary you take from it. But the reality is he's admitted to, you know, not knowing all this boot stuff that much. And here's the thing, it's all on the internet. It's how everybody went and learned it. He could have spent the time to go learn some of the stuff. It's not like it's very hard. I mean, there's a lot of very concise videos these days that could get you 2/3 of the way there without a lot of effort. I mean, we're talking like less than 3 hours of video viewing, start to finish.
So now he's out there. He makes, I mean, what? I'll say it. What does he make? $10,000, $15,000. I think somebody said he might be up to $30,000 that he charges somebody, a boot company, to rip those boots apart. Motherfucker's getting paid. So don't think that he's out there doing shit for fun like Mike and I are. He's getting paid to do that shit. And you'll notice everyone is the best. JK is the best, and next
White's,
week Nick's will be the best.
And
if he
was
does
the
another
best.
one for JK, JK will be the best again. He just throws it out there, and yeah, he's getting paid thousands upon thousands, and then he gets money off of the collab itself. And now he's making kilties and making a whole bunch of money on that.
I think he's been doing that for
Is
a
there
couple
really
years now.
anybody that's stupid enough to say that this monkey who doesn't know shit about fuck should be making money making kilties? Buy him from the boot company, for Christ's sake. I mean, buy him from the company that actually put the boot together and actually has the actual hides in stock, so you know you're getting the right color. Why would you buy a pair from anybody else? And if you were going to buy it from somebody else, I'll shout out Dale's Leatherworks here. He does a good job and has a whole bunch of different hides, and we'll do some custom work. But he knows a lot more than Rosanville does.
Yeah, well, and Dale's kilty design, it has gone through one redesign, but it originally came from Jimmy at Trinity Handmade. He took over that business from Jimmy, and Jimmy's the one that designed that. The only other person who has a very unique design that the kilty is quite functional is Jesse from Guarded Goods. He's got the only real functional no-show kilty if you don't want to chop your kilty up to make it no-show. He's got a really good one that does hide itself and doesn't peek its way out. Because most no-show kilties, the eye holes eventually, as the kilty flattens out and curves, work their way in so that you can see them through the laces. Because the whole point of no-shows are trying to keep it as close to the edge as possible, and a lot of times they take it too short, the eye holes will eventually get visible. But yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of that minimalist wallet design that he does. I like a regular bifold wallet, so I can't speak on that too much. I was never into like those Ridge wallets that everyone had a sponsorship on their channel for a couple years ago or anything like that. But those styles look like something like that, and I don't know who uses a wallet like that.
Hey, I'm not even. Can you pull one up really quick? Show it to me. I'm not even sure what his wallets look like.
It's those little square ones that you could take like cards on both sides and have like a money clip on it that look like a Ridge or whatever.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I don't actually like those. I like the smallest possible one that I can get, and I do like those. Several reasons. One, lots of pickpockets out there, and I decided that I wanted to start carrying my wallet around in my front pocket. And it's can't get a bifold up there. So
I stick a bifold up
try
there.
to be minimalist. I always do credit cards. I keep like some emergency cash that's folded up kind of tight, but I don't keep very much in my wallet anymore. I've done away with all of the extra crap, and I've known too many people that have had sciatica issues, and I don't want to develop that problem. And that gets developed from keeping a wallet in your back pocket.
Yeah, I've actually always kept a bifold in my front pocket. It's a thinner bifold. Like here's mine. I've had it for a long time, but yeah, I've always kept it in my front pocket. I've never done the back pocket thing, and like I said, the minimalist ones, some of them work, some of them don't. I don't like the Ridge personally. The Ridge is like 25 cards in a stack and like a money clip. I don't think that works out very well. There's a couple different styles I've seen that look more appealing to me, but like I said, I've had that wallet since, I don't know, like 2015, and it's a custom hand-carved one by a lady in Great Britain, so it's got some sentimental value, so I'll keep it until it falls completely apart, and it's survived perfectly fine with no issues. So
it also really screws up your jeans back pocket too. You're eventually going to rip that pocket out quick. Yep. You're carrying something back there of any size, and that was a big change for me, like really, really big change, because when I turned 16 and I got my first car, my dad sent me off with like He gave me like a $5 bill, and he told me that the first thing I had to do is go down to the hardware store and get a door key cut, and to have that door key put into my wallet. Why? Because eventually you're going to lock your keys in your car.
Yep.
So that was like his rule. That was like a big thing. That was a big memory of childhood. I had to go down there and get that key. So I always carried 2 or 3 door lock keys inside of my wallet. I'd keep a house key inside of my wallet. I'd keep pictures of kids and family and stuff like that in my wallet. So, that wallet was big. I had a whole bunch of receipts that I didn't clear out anywhere near much. So I carried a big wallet. So going minimalist so that I've got like 2 cards, a driver's license, and like a $50 bill folded up 3 times for an emergency, that was big for me. Really big.
I mean, the Ridge wallets are popular. I just don't like his designs. They're kind of like abstract art. So like instead of like 3 flaps with the inside, like the front and back flap will be like this curly Q thing to reduce the amount of stitching for the cards to slide in, so they're only held across diagonally. Anyway, point is he's the only person I've ever seen make wallets exactly like that, so they are a little out there. If I was to rebuy another wallet these days, I'd go with one of Ashland Leather's really thin foldovers. Like they have these bifolds that only hold like 6 cards in a single money slot that are like this thick. They make them out of shit like shell. They're pretty cool.
My next one will be shell, so that it can be made as thin as possible and still be strong. I will be going for just the absolute smallest possible wallet that's still reasonably tough and made out of good materials.
Yep.
Size is more important than anything else.
No, makes sense. But like I said, this is where the good and bad of boot social media leads you. A guy that's designing boots that specializes in making wallets, which is kind of exactly the point we're getting at. And overall, like, here's the reality. Every good thing in everyone's life comes with a bad thing. Like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This is true in all of life. There is no tool that does it all. The good tools have a purpose that they're meant to be used for, and a long list of shit they're not meant to be used for. You use it for the thing it's used for. That's really kind of how it goes with anything. Like once you get past we'll roll this back into boots. A lot of people start with, I want the one boot to do it all. That boot don't exist. There's like one boot that can cover 2/3 of your things, but it's going to really suck at a couple of others. Like if you pick that one boot that's your work boot, your going out boot, your snow shoveling boot, it's going to really fucking suck for going out. And it's also going to eventually have a short life as a work boot because you're doing lots of snow shoveling with it. We can kind of cover these 2 categories pretty well, but this one's always going to be turd. And you're going to reduce this category by using it in this category, so on and so forth. The other thing is like I said, say that snow shovel boot, you want it to be insulated. Man, that boot's going to be real fucking fun to use in the summer. Real fun. And it's, once again, you don't just make a single pair of boots as your do-all boots. It doesn't really work. This is the exact same spectrum all over again. And it's where some of those designs are kind of weird because they're really not designed to do anything specifically, except for be like a pair of Mischief, like a Mischief style boots, which it's that art brand in New York that makes boots that really aren't meant to be they're meant to be kind of, I won't say wall decorations, but kind of wall decorations.
Some are for looks, some are for warmth, some of them are for staying cool, some of them are for supporting your ankles max, some of them are for being on concrete, some of them are for being on dirt, some of them are for being dirty, and some of them are for going to church. This is why we're addicted to boots. I mean, you got to have one for everything.
Yeah.
And that's not even when you're trying to match some of your clothing together.
We did a couple episodes recently that everyone got to see on hats and jackets, and those episodes seemed to be taken quite well. I think a lot of people really enjoyed kind of that very light iceberging, because we didn't go super deep into any of that stuff. But we did do, the stuff that the average consumer to the slight enthusiast consumer needs to know. And, that sometimes that's enough. Now, neither of us were qualified enough to go super deep into either of those topics, which is part of the reason that was left tip of the iceberg and not the everything beneath it. But, people like to match shit. Story time with Mike. In my early IT career, I fought so hard up the waterfall in this, like, no one should give a shit about how you're dressed at work, don't care if you got fucking face tattoos. Obviously I don't have face tattoos, but like all these like perception things in the corporate world, they're like, this is all fucking bullshit, fuck that, we're never doing any of that, why would anybody do this, like, fuck you, like, so what if my fucking beard is like slightly unkept a little bit one day or whatever, right? But the reality is those perceptions all fucking matter. Playing the game matters. Like, you're not going to do like small time IT environment for a small company that's not somewhat corporate, because you're going to be working with big corporate entities, because licensing is so fucking expensive in computers. You have to be a large scale organization to even remotely fucking afford it. It's just as simple as that. If not, you're going to pay an organization that is organized around supporting tons of small businesses in their IT to get that cost down. That's how that works. And, I spent the first 7 years of my career just not doing the stuff that mattered. And then one fucking random day, I finally decided I found these Duluth fire hose pants. And it's like, I'm just going to switch on my work pants over these. I'm tired of denim. We're allowed to wear denim at work, but, there's just too many benefits to these fire hose pants, and I'm struggling. Like, it seemed like every pair of fucking denim I picked up, I was had to try to find irregular sizes at the Levi outlet store, because none of the regular even numbered shit was fitting right. It was either too big or too small. So I picked up these fire hose pants, and ironically, a couple of the colors looked close enough like khakis. Like, immediately, people started treating me a little bit different at work. And it's like, should that bullshit happen? Absolutely fucking not, it should. But these perceptions do a lot of the real world matter. Looking the part, looking like you actually give a shit a little bit. These things go a long ways. So people do care about the nicer jackets, the nicer hats, maybe a good pair of selvage denim if they need to wear it into an office. A big thing that we get a lot is, I need my boots to be able to work in an office, but I also need to be able to go to job sites occasionally. That's a tough choice, because you've got to make some pretty hard choices when it comes down to that. Horse is going to be one of the very first things that we're going to say, like, oh, if you need to do these, horse is one of your best options, but you're going to have to be smart with the color. You can't pick a color that stains easily. Scratches can easily be handled. That's no big deal, but that's going to put you in the darker browns and the blacks, because you need to be able to cover scratches up with cream. That's as simple as that. You need something that needs to be a little polishable as well. And rough out Seidel is not going to be that unless you're ready to get the sander and the burnisher out and burnish that shit smooth. So, and that's a use case. There's one of those like dual purpose boots that needs a lot of thought. It can't be something you put together willy-nilly. And what you're not going to want to do is put a random lineman patch on it just because it looks cool and it's a nice contrasting color. And this is it. The other thing is you're not going to want to put an H100 lug on it either. You're going to want to stick with a mini lug or try to get away with a V-bar. You're going into an office. No one wants to see your lugs. You don't wear Timberlands into your office, not completely tied with the knots in them, and you can see your socks and the tongue hanging over. You don't look like a bum if you don't want people to treat you like a bum.
You don't do that? I did that.
Not to an office. I mean, like I've seen high school kids do it, and like people in their early 20s do it when they go out to the bars on the weekends, but not to their actual office job.
I did it, but I did it with some of the cooler looking leathers, and I did it with those J. Crew boot khakis. So they went over them to the extent that they were pretty
you never see it. Yeah. So, and like I said, those are the
rules.
Yeah.
Just like you did.
Yep. I mean, I've made it plenty far in my career, but I could have made it quite a bit farther in those first 7 years if I had played the games more. And I'm not saying going full fucking crony corporate. Don't ever do that. That's a waste of everybody's time. Nothing is more useless than middle management that's never done the job before. But, you know, there are, you know, certain games and perceptions to play that just make life simpler.
It's always a tough line to follow, right? And I mean, we could have countless people decide that they're gonna respond to this and talk about their experiences, and I'd love to hear them. But yeah, I mean, it's a fine line, right? I mean, you want to have personality, you want to express who you are, you want to link up and make the best friends that have the most in common with you at work, because as an adult, that's where you're making all your friends. You know, you're not in school anymore, so I mean, that's kind of your whole life. So you know, a lot of the friends that you end up hanging out with, you're going to meet at work, and you're going to meet them based on partially what, you know, the way that you present yourself, so that they decide, hey, I think I might have something in common with that person, and might want to strike up a conversation or decide to go out for drinks after work. But at the same time, like we were saying just before this, you've got to dress well enough that you're going to be able to keep that job, and that you're going to be able to move up that ladder and look professional and act professional and get the right reputation at work.
Yeah, and like I said, this stuff matters. You don't want to be the guy that they just invite out to drinks because you fix their shit in a timely basis, and then they're just, you know, maintaining that relationship just good enough so that they have a quick access to fixing shit. And if you're, you know, wearing your fucking My Little Pony tattoo sleeves, my guess is that's all they're going to keep you around for. They're also going to pick bars and restaurants they don't normally go to when they're with you as well. Because once again, they don't want to be seen as a regular in a place with the dude with the My Little Pony tattoo sleeve. I'm joking about the ones that like people put on, like the shirt ones, not like people that actually get tattooed. I mean, once again, if you're actually tattooed with it, same shit. Think about that a little bit more before you do it. But like, I'm talking about the, like, you know, shirt sleeves where you put on that look like you have a tattoo sleeve.
Who do you hang out with?
Not people that do shit like that. Well, and this is reality of social media too. Shock social media and cool glamour pics are something that have driven product development for a lot of brands. And I'm going to segue this into something slightly different than boots for a minute, but you know, one of the best competition 2011 brands in guns that had dominated the scene for a long time, that was like kind of considered the cream of the crop for like the not completely 100% one-off customs, like your Cabots and your not factory production Haze and your Cobra, or sorry, not Cobra. Cobra's a Haze model. The Venom customs was a brand called Infinity. And when the son about 3 years ago took it over from the dad, they've turned into making a bunch of models that fucking just look good in Instagram pictures, not people that actually go shoot 10,000 rounds through them in 3 years. And of course, you know, they have one that looks like a fucking meat tenderizer on the front of it. And guess what? Everyone's main complaint with it is it gets so fucking dirty and gets so much carbon fouling in it, they feel like they're spending more time cleaning the gun than shooting it. And this is and you see this with a lot of brands. Like, that's one brand that's fell into that. You know, there's a lot of like people that just go onto Reddit to show off their 2011 collection that never gets shot. But you have a ton of stuff in the boot industry that's this too, where, you know, people just have boots to show off on Instagram essentially, and they have such a deep fucking collection, none of it ever gets worn. And it just became about social media show off. This is that Mischief brand we were talking about that makes, you know, they made the Astro Boy boots out of pure polyurethane. Can you imagine walking 2 miles in what is essentially an Astro Boy Croc? It's probably fucking terrible, because to get all the balance of it right, I'm sure it's got huge fucking voids in it. Obviously, it's not meant to walk around in and use, like, it's not meant to be your new fucking hiking boots, right?
First world problems.
Well, and then that is very true too, like obviously speaking. But I mean, this is it. And, you know, if you don't have that fuck you money, you know, finding a good source of information that's not just trying to sell the next boot the next week is a big deal. Because guess what? You maybe get to make a boot purchase a year. You've got to fucking make it count. And this is the negative part of social media. A ton of boot social media is literally meant about basically hawking boots, right? For lack of a better term.
If the Thursday rep is watching, by the way, check your private messages in your other folder. I've sent you a message. There is somebody that I've been trying to reach, a female. I can't remember her name. That works for Thursday. She's trying to get into PNWU, and I really want her to be there. But I also want to make sure that she knew that she's not going to just come in and just advertise and self-promote, and not help any of the customers and not help anybody in general and get along. So I wanted to talk to her, but she hasn't responded to me.
If for somehow you found this video and you made it 50 minutes in, there's your notification. That bell icon is on. But
or if somebody is in here, knows her, and wants to reach out to her.
Yeah. But
and I say that that group does have a ton of brand reps in it. The representation in that group by the builders is shockingly high, way more than I've seen in any other group. But they're all there to help. They're there. They're saying nice things about other builders, and they're helping customers out that have issues with their brand, and just there to be one of us and to be around. And sure, that's going to help them for their brand, but none of them are in there posting up their sale ads.
Correct. Yeah. They're there to help, essentially, mostly user problems, and to, maybe announce something's coming out that people might want to jump on and be a part of. But, and this is the good and the bad of the boot social media. I mean, we could literally could have called this the good and the bad of social media in general, but that's a big, deeper rabbit hole. But this is what we've gotten out of it. We've gotten plenty of jackasses who get kicked out of every single group by being a bipolar jackass, and we've, get great information sources where you get to see stuff. Anyone who's found me on Facebook knows I don't have a profile picture, because I am only on Facebook quite literally to see my Frank's builds. Like, everyone was getting to see my builds before I was, because I wasn't part of the group. And then that kind of led into the other stuff, but I still have never attached a profile picture because, quite frankly, I don't use a shit. Same with the guys that are listening from the Handwelt Deluxe. I use the stock profile Discord picture too. I don't use Discord as a regular basis. I use it for the couple things I need it for, and that's it. And that includes not having a fucking profile picture. So I am not the social media connoisseur. I use it for the stuff I need it for, and I use it for the tool that it is.
Anybody who's seen mine and is looking at me right now knows that mine is horribly inaccurate. My Facebook photo has not been updated since 2012, like over 10 years.
That's like 13 years now.
Sorry, not sorry, but yeah, I mean, the world, the people who need to know what I look like know that photo gets showed to everybody out there, no matter who they are. And there's a lot of people out there that I don't want to show a picture of me.
Yep. It's not so bad to be a faceless brand. It works quite well for the Indonesians. They have a logo. You know them by their logo, nothing else.
Yeah, I need a logo.
There you go. Corporate branding 101.
I do have a Clover. I do have a Clover up for YouTube.
Yeah. I don't have anything up for YouTube either. I should probably fix that as well. But yeah, another day, another dollar, another social media platform that I don't have a photo on. So I think the only thing I actually do have a photo on is my PayPal, just because it makes it a little easier for people to find, just since there's enough scammers on there.
I think I finally put a photo up for that.
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah, that's the
Maybe
one.
this week.
That's the one platform where I found it was helpful to actually have a photo on. But yeah, so actually this one's a little bit shorter than our usual one, but like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you think down below. Like I said, this was kind of something just to call out. Like, you see people fucking calling out makers that have no justification, just salty. Fucking let the maker know, let the people in the group know. Like, don't be an asshole. If you have a bad experience, and only if everything else has failed, don't just go fucking blast people for no random reason. That shit's not cool. Use the tools of social media to your advantage. You have a build, someone's probably done it. You want to look for a leather, someone's probably made something out of it. And then if you've got questions, a lot of these boot communities, whether it be Reddit, Facebook, Discord, that's a great place to not only get answers, but to potentially get examples added to those answers where they can throw some pictures out to show you what they're talking about. Use it for the good. Don't use it for the bad.
And good doesn't have to be happy.
Correct.
You can be constructively unhappy.
But
And if you are, then I want to hear what you have to say.
Constructively. Not pissed off, vindictive, angry. Constructive, actual problems. And here's the thing. Constructive criticism oftentimes can be corrected criticism. So, but if, you want to dump diesel all over your boots so that they're never wearable again and then never put the video up of you burning them, cool.
Yeah, we missed out there, didn't we? We didn't get to see them get burnt.
It's okay. We also didn't have people putting pictures of checks with full accounting, with routing numbers and account numbers up on Facebook for everybody to see either.
We did for a very short time until somebody took those down.
Wonder who that was. Might be talking to him right now.
Saving someone's bacon for them.
Hey, no shit. Fucking couple federal crimes there. So, anyway, like, comment, subscribe.
All right.
Let us know down below. We'll see you on the next one.
Sláinte.